Hey there, welcome to another episode of Talk Music Talk with Boice. I am Boice. This is my podcast you are listening to. Talk Music Talk is a weekly music interview podcast where I have long-form conversations with people connected to music from different genres and from different backgrounds, both established and emerging, musicians, singers, singer-songwriters, music therapists, music journalists. And on this new episode, I had the pleasure of speaking to Darko the Super, a hip-hop artist based in Philly. He is one of the most eclectic and creative rappers you will ever hear. I first found out about him from Already Dead Cassettes. That is a label that used to be based in Brooklyn. I can't remember where they're based at now, but they had a compilation and featured some of his music. I happened to interview the founder of Already Dead Cassettes, Joshua Tabia, and I will put that interview in the show notes for you. I've been a fan of Darko ever since and finally had the chance to sit down with him over the holidays. Great musical conversation. We talked about how he started making music, how he got started in his process, how prolific he is. We talked about his influences like Bill Hicks and a mutual shared fan of Frank Zappa right at the top of the conversation. After the interview, you will hear a brand new unreleased song from him. It's called MC Pee Pants, produced by BLKrKRT, and is from Darko's forthcoming album, Car Tricks for Dogs. And he has a Kickstarter that he just started. It is easy to find. I will put the link in the show notes, but if you Google Darko the Super and Kickstarter, first thing on the page, so go and check that out. Don't forget the new song after the conversation. But here it is, without further ado, my interview with Darko the Super. Enjoy. So I know that you're a big Zappa fan.
Yeah, definitely.
Same.
Oh,
same.
Cool.
Yeah, love Zappa.
Yeah.
How did you get into Zappa?
Through Jay Dilla, actually.
Oh, really?
Okay.
He
sampled him on some songs.
Mm-hmm.
It was also, I used to fall asleep with the music choice channels on the TV, and I guess I had some sort of, classic rock type thing on, and they played one of the songs off of Dirty Love on Overnight Sensation.
Yeah.
They played that song, and it blew my mind. And I was reading all the little, on Music Choice, they had the little like tidbits about the artist or the song and whatever. So I saw he did a lot of like instrumental work too, and that's why I wanted to, explore his catalog more. And then talking to my dad about him, one of his friends at work like burnt me this, I don't know what type of CD it was, because he put tons of folders of all these albums on there. Yeah. And I just was listening to that constantly and making beats out of it and stuff. But yeah, since then it evolved past, I want to sample this, to this is the greatest, piece of music I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I think he's an absolute genius, and I think he's my personal favorite musician who ever lived. I think he's just incredible.
Yeah,
so.
Same here. He's my favorite guitarist too.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say my favorite album of his changes a lot, but right now it's Absolutely Free.
Okay.
By the Mothers of Invention, that just, Status Back Baby, that song, and just, it really, it inspired this, like, movie I sort of jotted a loose plot of once, sort of on tour, actually. I had this idea for this movie based on Absolutely Free, and I sort of, jotted down in where I write all my lyrics on my phone, and I was just, up all night writing it. So, once I could get Tim Burton to direct it, I'll, something like that.
Follow through with that.
Yeah.
So I feel like with Zappa, there's like, which Zappa do you like? Like,
oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Like, what Zappa do you like? Like all Zappas? See, I love all Zappas.
Yeah, so do I. I think it's not what I like, but what I prefer is the, freak out and the, like any type of doo-wop type thing he was doing. Yeah. Ruben and the Jets blows my mind every time. But I also love Shake Your Booty and, the late 70s stuff was just incredible to me. All the, Bobby Brown Goes Down. That's one of my favorites. I like all the lewd and absurd stuff, and all the Mothers of Invention stuff too. That's Mothers of Invention is my favorite that he's ever done.
I don't think I've really explored the 60s stuff as much. The Mother stuff, probably
Freak Out was
like
the first one I really loved. Yeah, Freak Out, and then there's, then he did like all the like movie scores to movies that never really happened. Like there's Uncle Meade and all those. Well, I guess that movie did happen, but what was the one? It was right after Absolutely Free. It was
200 Motels. Is that? Well, there was a soundtrack for that. What else?
No, I was thinking of We're Only in It for the Money.
Okay,
that was another early favorite of mine, especially for the title. I think that's my favorite album title of all time. We're Only in It for the Money, but just something I really want to put together like a compilation for my record label and call it that. We're Only in It for the Money. I think just getting a bunch of my favorite artist friends together and trying to just put together an album like that would be cool.
Had you been deep into making music when you heard him? That you were sampling him first?
I wouldn't say deep, but it was early on in my adventures, Yeah. That was early on when I was making beats, probably I was probably just maybe 10 beat tapes in, maybe less. Which early on I was making a lot of them. So
What do you make beats on? Like, how'd you start?
It's a software called Mixcraft. I've just been using that. Like, for instance, I started on maybe Mixcraft 3, and now I'm on Mixcraft 8. So just, each time they make a new version, I'm on it. It was so cheap to get, too. And they give you the trial, and that got me hooked because I could learn. It came with, like, loops and things you could use, and that's how I taught myself how to make beats. Using the loops to arrange things, and then eventually using samples and songs to arrange things. That's sort of how I learned from Mixcraft.
Okay.
And that's what I mix and master all my stuff on, and that's all the beats I make is on there.
Okay, so you totally do everything on.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Anything I'm doing myself is on Mixcraft.
Okay. So the beats come first, and then rapping, or
it depends.
At the same time?
It depends on. Sometimes I'll have an idea for a song with a sample in mind. Like my song "Take My CD," I had this idea to sample what's the band, Twisted Sister, I think it is. Yeah, We're Not Gonna Take It. So I had an idea to do that, and so I made that beat and sort of wrote the song simultaneously. And just about like early on going to shows and trying to give like your CD to some rapper you like at the time, it was sort of, that was the idea behind that, Also, trying to sell merch and people being like, that's all right, So it was sort of like, oh, you could just take it, and they still don't want it. We can't even give this shit away for free, That's what that was about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you hear something like Zappa, are you like, okay, this isn't going to sound like other people's stuff that people maybe are sampling the same things that from sampling Zappa?
Well, most producers, at least they should think differently about how they're going to make a beat and whatnot. So, I think it changes, definitely varies. But I will say my biggest influence on my beats is Charles Hamilton. Okay. And I think a lot of beats he's made I've tried to recreate. And besides Jay Dilla, that's the only person I've ever tried to emulate.
I'm not familiar with him.
He's originally from Cleveland, but he lived out here in Harlem, in Brooklyn, for New York for a while. He sort of got on through the song Brooklyn Girls. It was on MTV and everything. And he was like, DJ Ski would like host his mixtapes, and he was going on radio shows and things like that. He was big in the blog era, and he still blogs all the time. That's his thing. There's a really amazing documentary on him that Red Bull Music did. And but I was listening to him in high school, and that was like my big influence. He was on the XXL Freshman of the Year back when that was like still a cool thing, you know, and like Asher Roth and all those dudes, Kid Cudi and Blue and like people like that were on it. But yeah, so I was really into him. One of the cool stories about him, it was like Kendrick Lamar was at one of his shows, and they like battle rapped or something. Like this was super early on. No one obviously knew who Kendrick Lamar was, and I guess he was like a fan and wanted to like battle Charles. And there's that video's out there on YouTube still. But yeah, Charles, I think he's one of the greatest producers of all time because he'll sample anything, you know, and that's what I'm about. Like he'll sample popular songs and still make it his own somehow. One of the beats I've made recently for a remix, I sampled one of the Queen songs, one of the popular ones. I don't know what it was, I forget. But yeah, it was just a remake of what he did, basically. Okay. Same loop of sorts, and I, you know, just did my own drum type thing to it. But yeah, he's incredible to me, and I think he makes everything on GarageBand, which makes it even crazier because you can't do anything in that.
That's what I hear.
That piece of junk. Yeah,
pretty limiting.
Yeah. He talks about using force or something with which I don't even know what it means, but he talks about that with something with the computer or with Macs. You could use force with GarageBand, and it lets you. I don't know. He's just like a mad scientist. I feel, you know, just crazy with how he hears sounds and how he, creates music basically. Yeah.
So when you hear a song, how do you know it's going to make a good sample? Like, what do you, what touches you when you hear something?
It's usually the lyrics, actually. Okay. Which, most people go for the sound. Yeah. Because that makes more sense. But I'll hear like a phrase in something, and that'll make me want to like figure out a way to sample it and, you know, make that into, I try to speak through the beats in a way with the songs that I'm sampling, what they're saying, for instance, you know. So I think that's what I go for. I hear it sound, I mean, the music too, whatever. If you could hear something easily looped, like I was listening to Mind Games by John Lennon, and that intro just spoke to me, you know, that could just loop on forever because it's so beautiful, you know. And so things like that I'll hear, or just phrases, you know, like the "we're not going to take it" thing, you know.
So it's just kind of visceral in that moment. When
Okay. It's more of a spontaneous thing, I feel. Yeah.
And you have, what, is it 60, 70 albums now? Or
probably around 70 now. Okay. I haven't counted in a while. I only count when like things like that come up, like, oh, who's the most prolific or something. I try to
raise your hand.
Yeah. Well, I try to see how many I have on Bandcamp and then all the various labels Bandcamps that I released on. And I only count stuff after like maybe 2013, you know. I feel like everything before that wasn't too it wasn't too up to par. So
the learning years, is it?
Yeah. I had a big learning curve. Like I started making music maybe 2009 or 2010 or so, and I made maybe 10 albums still in high school, and then I'd say the first like 20 albums or so I make. I don't count them anymore. They weren't they weren't fully. I wasn't fully formed as a human being yet. I feel to formulate thoughts in a way that could create provoking music. You know.
Okay. So after like 20 albums, you can sort of feel like you're getting your style.
I feel like I found my voice after. I feel like I didn't find my voice till maybe last year. Okay. Actually, I feel like when I made Watered Down Demon Fuzz, that's my favorite album I've made. And when I made that, I feel like I found who I wanted to be as an artist.
And what you're saying, or the samples?
No, what I'm saying.
Okay.
And how I say it, you know? Because I feel like early on, I could say some cool things maybe, but I didn't have the voice yet. I didn't know how to rap or sing or anything like that. I feel like I learn more. You have to learn more listening to so much music, you learn how things should be, you know? And, I think that's what, inspired me at
on that
time.
album.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to release that much music, like, what is your, like, do you have like a set goal? Like, I want to do X amount of songs a week, or you're just...
No, I have no goals or anything like that as far as, I don't have to meet a quota or anything. It just comes to me. I think what I benefit from is being inspired by everything, you know? I got this job at the mall for the holidays, and I just made an album called United Malls of America that I'm working on, inspired by working at the mall, and Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks is like my spiritual leader. He's my guide. But he has this great bit. He's going on about, you know, how by the year 2000 we're gonna all live in all malls will be connected. There will be a subculture of mall people who've never lived outside the malls, and you know, all this, just this Reagan wet dream of the 80s that he was talking about at the time. It just created this narrative for this album for me, and it sort of became this concept of sorts. But yeah, so I feel like any bad thing that happens in my life, I could always write a song about it. Same with any good thing, you know. I find inspiration in tons of, in just every aspect of life. I just feel there's so much out there.
Okay. So it's not like you, like today, like I got to work on my music for 2 hours or...
Oh, never, no.
Okay. It's just like whenever you're ready, you just do it.
Yeah, I wait to record in the mornings, you know. Or I've been here in Brooklyn recording with Harvey a lot at Steel Tip Dove Studio, and you know, we've knocked out 3 albums, almost a fourth so far in the past few months, and it's just been incredible to be able to do that. But besides that, most of my recording is done on my own. Lesson with iLive, who is my other partner in rhyme, you know, as a Hellhole Store. So really that being in a duo like that really inspires me too, because it's almost a competitive type, not a competitive type thing. It's more like, oh man, I want to say this to make him laugh. You know, It's like, that's how we keep going. It's like, we got to one up each other. Yeah. Who's going to, you know, say the funniest shit on this song? You know, it's like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's,
well, what I admire about
show
you,
off. Yeah.
It's like, okay, there's so many people, they create art, whatever medium. And they may have like, you know, it's not good enough, so they hold on. And it's like, have you ever, ever had that where you like had to struggle to put stuff out? So I admire somebody who just can keep tapping into that. Yeah.
Our Stevie Moore is a big influence on me at the moment. And I remember he said something like, even all music is good. Even bad music is, I forget the quote, but it really resonated with me, you know? There is times I have a lot of unreleased stuff too, just because, it was unfinished or just, I didn't feel, you know what happens a lot? I write these songs to one beat and I record it and stuff, but then it works much better on a different song. So there's things like that. So there's tons of different versions of things, I guess, but most music I make, I like to just get it out there. Especially in the moment. I feel like, working with some labels, when you're working with a record label, they have things like scheduled most of the time, you know? So, making an album and having to wait like 5 months till it's released, that's something I struggle with. Right? Yeah. So yeah, that's the only, I like to get it out because when I make something, I listen to it over and over, and I'm like in love with that album at the moment. It's easier to promote when you're still like hyped off the album, when you're still psyched off of what you made. Later. Yeah. 4 or 5 months later, you're like, oh yeah, I already made 3 more albums, but check this out, you know? So it sort of dies down for you, the fire inside for that particular. Okay. I think a lot of music is about a moment, you know?
And I feel like too, is like, you get better at your craft by you keep doing it and doing it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And you got to put it out there for the, you know, you got to put it out there for the world to see. I think a lot of how you can progress in music is putting yourself out there in any format, whether it is going to shows and meeting and networking with people. I've never been afraid to like email anyone. Like emailed Andy Milonakis, for instance, like trying to get him on a song one time. You know, anybody. And it's helped out tremendously. Like I've been releasing stuff with Serengeti now, who's one of my favorite artists of all time. And that just happened through Twitter, you know, like messaging him because I found out we use the same lathe cut guy for our records.
Oh, really?
And so I was like, hey, you know, if you ever want to reissue something, let me know. And it's been great. So yeah, I feel like just making art and keeping it for yourself and hoarding it is just not the way to go. You know, it's just it's masturbation at that point. You know, it's.
So how long, say, for a track will it take for you to do on your own?
You know,
a few hours or something.
To quote Ghostface, not long is how long that this song took me. You know, yeah, it depends. Definitely not a few hours. I'd say, you know, if I write it and make the beat and record it in the same sort of amount of time, that may take an hour or so. But usually I write and make the beat and record on definitely separate occasions. You know, what happens is I'll write a few songs and then they'll keep piling up to the point, all right, I gotta record, you know, and that's when I'll get out like 7 songs in a day or something, you know. And at that point I'm just putting the beat in and you know, recording to it, and that doesn't take much, you know, at all.
And what do you look for, like if you're using another producer's music beats?
Mainly just if I, you know, it's something you hear, you know, it's just I know what sounds I like, you know, I know what type of beats I like, I know what I'll sound good over, things like that. That all factors in. It's also like who you know, it's like, for instance, my friend Phil, BLKrKRT, he sent me 150 beats this weekend. I'll go through them, you know. That's what, it's more so like who I'm working with at the time. Like Hike Keach sent me about 300 beats when I made the album with him. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of other artists I work with are super prolific as well, you know. And just especially producers, you know, BLKrKRT, he'll make 100. He told me he makes 100 beats and then he deletes all the files and moves on to the next 100. Okay. So he makes 100 beats at a time, and that's like nuts to me, you know. So he'll just pile it on, and I'll just go through it and find what I like. It's it all comes down to what you like. It's a preference thing, I feel. Yeah.
Had you always had an interest in music before you started making it?
I think so. I remember, you know, even being super young, like 4 or 5, and writing songs. You know, later on, like, I remember me and a friend wrote my very first written song was with a friend of mine, in the neighborhood I grew up in. We wrote it, we typed it all out and printed it even. It was just so.
Was it singing or rapping?
It was rapping. It was rapping at the time. Yeah. Early on, I would write like singing things, but that was the first rap song I ever wrote. Yeah. One of the first rap songs I ever wrote was Asher Roth had that song "I Love College." Yeah. And Asher Roth went to the same high school I did, so it was, at the time it was like, oh wow, someone.
It was a big deal.
Yes, it was a big deal at the time. You know, like someone who delivered the same newspaper as me is like on MTV right now. So I wrote my own version of I Love College, but it was super like nerdcore, and it was I Love Xbox. You know, I'm still super into Xbox, but at the time, you know, that was the thing. I was playing Halo till 3 a.m. with my friends and stuff. So that was another one of the first things I wrote.
Did you know you could just rap about anything? Did you ever feel like, there's certain things I need to rap because it's rap?
Oh, I see what you mean. I feel maybe early I may have saw the restrictions. Definitely not now. I feel like maybe I don't think I've ever felt restrictions. It was more so like the topics you rap about. Yeah. Like I
guess that's what I mean.
But now I see anything is possible. You know, I don't think there's any limits to music at all. You know, that's for sure.
Yeah. So where do you think, you said anything can inspire you. Like, what made you or gave you the freedom, like you could just rap about anything? Was it seeing like a particular artist, hearing their work?
Possibly. I think a lot of artists inspire me. So, also going to shows and just when you see a really amazing performance, it inspires you. And, even watching movies, I remember seeing that movie Frank with, Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
That I made like a whole EP that night after I watched that movie. Sampling Ariel Pink and playing synthesizers and stuff. I was like, this is what I want to do. You know, I wanted to be Lady Gaga at that moment. You know, I wanted to be a superstar after I watched that movie. What
instruments you play? Synthesizer?
That's about it.
Barely?
Barely the synth and the computer I play well.
Okay.
That's about it, you know?
Is that like a childhood thing, learning synths?
Oh, no. Well, yeah, I did play. I remember I did play it a lot as a kid, but then also in high school when I was making music, I brought back out my brother's old like synthesizer, and I would mess around with that. I would spend the whole day playing that thing, just making up terrible little melodies and stuff, and just playing them over and over to try and learn it. But I'll be honest, I never want to be in a band. I never, that just doesn't interest me in that.
The whole dynamics of
I tried learning guitar.
Work with
I was so into Beck, my parents got me an acoustic guitar and a harmonica one year, and it was when that game, well, not a game, but it was like Guitar Hero, but it was to teach you how to play guitar.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. Maybe it was like not Rockstar, but something dumb along those lines. So it had like Nirvana songs on it that you could learn. It sort of like how you would plug your guitar into an amp. You would plug that. The other end was a USB, and you plug that into your Xbox, and you could tune your guitar and then try and learn the riffs. And that didn't last long for me. I was just god awful.
Is that even compatible? Like to play the game and then play a real instrument? Is there?
Well, no, you are playing a real instrument.
Okay.
I was playing that acoustic guitar.
Okay.
Well, it was an electric and acoustic guitar, so that I could.
Oh, so you're playing an actual instrument, but
you're playing the actual guitar, but it's plugged into your Xbox, and that's how it knows, like, when you strum it, if you're hitting the right notes and stuff. So it was one of those things to try and help you learn guitar. And I've also even I just don't like learning things. I'm realizing that. I guess that's a bad way to go about things, but it frustrates me, and that's the part that I don't like. Did
you have a hard time picking up the software that you learned?
I don't think so. I remember. I mean, it took a while, but once I got the hang of it, it was. See, that interested me more. You know, I feel like that's what it takes for me to learn something. I have to be really, really into it, or seeing progress. Like with the beats, I was seeing progress and stuff, but with guitar, it wasn't going anywhere.
But I feel like something can be where it's the ideas you have in your head. If the instrument in front of you can't match that.
Yeah,
it can
definitely
get frustrating.
Because we all envision something, this song in our head, or we could hum it or whatever. But
you only have 3 chords.
Yeah. Definitely, I think so.
Because I'm trying to learn Ableton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I've been a struggle.
Oh man, Ableton's hard. It's really tough. Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to push through, but
I remember when I first got my laptop that I make all my beats on now, but I got that one Christmas and I downloaded Ableton trial just to switch it up and see if I could do it. And it was just so difficult. Do you have like a piece of hardware you use too?
Yeah, I have a keyboard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you could program the samples into like each key and stuff. But I didn't have that. I was using like because you could also do it with your keyboard on your computer and play the little samples and whatnot. So I made like 3 beats in Ableton, and I don't know where they are now. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I feel like that has the biggest learning curve, maybe.
Yeah, use the one that keeps working, right?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I realized. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know? I always stick with what I'm used to and what I know. Because that's just practical.
Cool. So, where's the best place for people to check out all your music?
Definitely Bandcamp. You Don't Deserve This Beautiful Art.bandcamp.com. And I run the label of the same name, and that's UDDTBA, the initials.
Okay.
.bandcamp.
I'll put that in the show notes.
Oh, I figured. Cool. Yeah. I don't have to give them the hyperlink or anything.
No. I will put that. I would make it easy for them.
Yeah, but you can find me anywhere.
Yeah.
Spotify. All
that. If you just Google.
Google
Darko the Super.
Something will pop up. Yeah, maybe some weird videos on YouTube of me like eating grapes or something, performing that terrible song I did. Yeah.
But thank you, man, for doing this.
Cool. This was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to finally meet you after hearing your music for years.
Oh, cool.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Fall on a man, so you dope. The best thing you ever did was let go. Let go. Fall on a man, so you dope. Barking up the wrong tree. I thought I had friends, but nobody calls me. It's a two-way street, they say. Got to the fork in the road and went straight right through my heart. You're tearing me apart.
You're tearing me apart.
Open up that wound and stick a dagger in. I came out the Taco Bell staggering. I'm a creep, I'm a weirdo, what am I doing here? Accept my rejection or cut off my ear. Now I can't hear. Now I'm consumed by fear. I'm a big, dumb, moronic doofus. My only solace is my music. I drank too much Mountain Dew. Driving to the show, that's when I knew I needed a restroom and I couldn't find a place to park. That's when my nightmare starts. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Now I'm somber cause I pissed my pants and I miss my favorite band. Slaves were playing the cafe. I had to call up my friends, tell them I couldn't make it, they didn't believe the story. Driving our home, trapped in all my glory. Got a shower and did my laundry, I wasn't very fond of me. I hate myself and wanna die like Nirvana. Living in this melodrama. I can't catch a break. Envy the dead and let my soul levitate. MCP pants ain't going back to school. Found me face first dead in the pool. Don't wanna live with myself anymore. I can't hold it in anymore. MCP pants ain't going back to school. Found me face first dead in the pool. Don't wanna live with myself anymore. I can't hold it in anymore.
MCP Pants by Darko the Super, produced by BLKrKRT. Great track. Don't forget Darko's Kickstarter. Just Google Darko the Super and Kickstarter. Also will be in the show notes. I am online at talkmusictalk.com for more podcast information and to stream every single episode. You can also find me on Instagram at thisisboice. Call to actions for you. If you enjoyed this episode with Darko, please share it on social media or email it to a friend or leave a 5-star rating and or review, especially on iTunes, because this all helps to grow the Talk Music Talk audience. You can also download the Talk Music Talk app. It is free for iPhone and Android, and you can find it wherever you like to get your apps. Or you can subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and more. You can also, there's more. You can also find the podcast on SoundCloud, but starting with episode 100, that's my interview with Carlos Dangler, former bassist of Interpol. Great conversation with him at soundcloud.com/thisisboice. Thank you so much for listening to this conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, and there will be a next time, this one's for you, Liz.